This is Lydia, the lifestyle coach, and what I do is I help people to get free from food crazies like binge eating, bulimia, overeating, trapped in the diet cycle, and just be done with it and move on with their lives using nothing but their own brains. And we have an amazing guest on today. I'm so excited for you guys to meet her. She is somebody who has taken this journey herself of food freedom. And I'm so excited for you to hear her story and just be inspired by another real live person who has gained food freedom. So we have on the show today, Carolina. Carolina, hello. So glad that you're here. Thanks for being on.
Hello, Lydia. Thanks a lot for inviting me. And yeah, thanks a lot.
Yes. And so it is so fun. Carolina and I have been able to work together a bit. And it's been so neat to just see how the transformation has happened and her just being able to be free. And so Carolina, why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a little bit about what your food journey was, how you kind of got to the place where you were struggling with food, kind of how that started, and sort of what your history with food has been.
Okay, this is a long story.
That's fine.
As I guess that many person has long stories about food, but I'm 46, so my eating disorder started at around 17 years. Yeah. At that time, I started with a diet, so it's been like a long story with different movements inside. And these movements have been started with an eating disorder, clearly anorexia, restrictive, and but without so much being conscious about what it was. It was much more like doing a diet, trying to be good to hook some boys and the college party and this kind of things. It was not so serious at that time. It was much more like feeling like, wow, it's like I feel control over my food, what I'm eating, and I felt good. I felt good, being in control. I was, my weight was low, and then my weight was really low. I mean, then I passed some moments of being kind of okay. And then suddenly that it turned out to transform into a bulimia, without the understanding what was that. I mean, what is this thing about suddenly trying to eat large amount of food in such an amount of time, super short amount of time, and then I discovered the thing about purging, and that was not something that was in my mind. I think that it was very interesting to note how can we can have took ideas, not even on other people. It was a doctor. He was asking me, because I went with my mother, I didn't have my period, and so he was telling me, I guess that you didn't drink some water before coming here to weigh more, or I hope that you're not inducing you vomiting. I said, what is this? I've never knew that before, so there were several a complex configuration of things that led me to understand a mechanism that my body was needing to eat a lot of food because I was in a low weight, and then not purging, so it was kind of easy to at that time. But then it became complicated in the sense of it became out of control. And I had a moment of being hospital. Then I gained weight, and was all this kind of bulimia. It never disappeared at that point. when I had some moments that were like exercising a lot, like amazingly exercising, and not eating. I mean, eating and purging. So it was like nothing in my body. I don't know how my body kept on going, and it was like a sad moment. I mean, if I look at, because I remember when I had the interview, there were part of the story they were not in my mind. Then I remembered afterwards, and they were like kind of dead zones in my life, I guess. I was isolated because even though I always got being social, and I had a lot of friends, but I wanted to be alone to perpetuate my behaviors. I wanted to eat alone, and all we know about like that, like to find any excuses, like to escape from the world and to be alone inside of a place. Or I was refusing any contact with other people. I remember I was like, uh, after exercising a lot, I was like going outside in the car, searching all the pharmacies, for laxatives. So it was like, I remember that like recently, and I said to myself, wow, this was a nightmare. I mean, I don't understand how was possible. I was possibly living like that. Yeah, so it was sad. I mean, I was very sad. uh yeah, it was desperating.
So it
uh
sounds like you were just extremely sad. You just felt completely desperate. And it sounds like you were just in this cycle and that it had gotten really out of control. Like it was pretty much anything to just, get rid of the food. And then you were, binging on the food. And I mean, before we got in contact, Carolina, how many years would you say that this feeling of being out of control and just in this cycle, how many years had that gone on?
well, I can has was like therapists, but like the long term. I mean, the whole story. It's about 27 years.
Okay.
With
Yeah.
moments of really out of control, and then moments of like more like, okay, a little bit much more quiet, but it never really went. You know, yeah.
Yeah.
At some point it became a kind of steady habit. Even though it was like someone was not out of control, was a steady habit. It was like still something, like I said to myself, but this is not possibly normal. It's still like a dark spot of my life.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's something that it kind of became your new normal because it had gone on for so long, but it was just this thing in your life that was really keeping you from living how you wanted to and just didn't feel normal.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
um
what sorts of things did you try, Carolina, to be done with this? Like over the years, what did you try to end the cycle?
well, I went to therapy. Like, I went to, I was in a hospital. Uh, then I went to therapy, like traditional therapy, psychiatrist with or shrink, you call it, with drugs and things. I remember I had so many drugs. I remember I was like, sometimes, and this is kind of also that zone that sometimes I talk to my sister, and she remembers that I was waking up during the night completely stoned with this drugs that I was like, antidepressant kind of, how to say, like antidepressors. Yeah. Another thing's very strong. And then I woke up during nights, and I was like going to the kitchen, like making some bread toast, and then eating like I was in a kind of zombie. And I didn't remember anything at the other day. It was like my brain was completely in a kind of suspension. It was wow.
Yeah.
And that night after night.
Yeah. And what was this doing to you just like physically? Like how are you feeling?
Very weak. I mean,
Mhm.
even though I have a kind of natural strength. uh, I was feeling weak. I was feeling like uh, I didn't allow to myself to feel weak, because I was exercising and doing stuff, but yeah, I was feeling weak, but much more like in terms of physically, it was like emotionally uh, deprived.
Yeah. So when we first connected, Carolina, what did your life look like then with your eating? Like, what was the cycle like? What was it costing you? How was it impacting your life when we had first connected? Um, what was it taking from you?
Well, I was definitely in a moment of much more awareness. I was pretty much more calmed, but because it became a normal, calm in the sense that it was not out of control, like was not every day, all day, but I was definitely binging and purging. It was a behavior that was at least twice a week. I could be 3 times a week, and there were some days that I had like much more difficult times, and so I understood that as a mechanism of um of dealing with my emotions. And when I was frustrated and I was felt like I was alone, uh, so I was in that need of being isolated, not wanted, I mean, like finding any excuses to be alone, to be at my home, to go to buy some stuff at the supermarket, to eat some, to binge and purge.
Yeah.
uh,
And did that feel like you, like the being alone and the isolation, was that just sort of your personality, or did you want to be with people? Did you want to be connecting with other people and being out?
no, I didn't want to be connecting with other people. I think
Mhm.
I wanted just to be in my inner feeling of suspension, like
Yeah.
trying to be in an abstraction of the world. It's like to avoid some pain. There was some pain, so this painful thing was like food was perfect to avoid pain, because there's there and you just go there, and it's uh doesn't speak. You don't have any communication. You just, like, it's there, it's unconditional, so it's something about that.
Yeah.
uh
So it
yeah, I
sounds like
was
it would get even worse, with stress and with emotion, and that it would just sort of put your life on pause. Like it was just sort of like a numbing feeling. Is that right?
exactly, yeah, it is.
Yeah. And why did you want that to change, Carolina? Like, why did you want to be done with the binging and the purging?
I wanted to have a normal relationship with food, and I wanted to be normal. I want to enjoy, not to be trapped. I wanted to be free. I wanted to be free for that, because even though it was not like in the craziest moments of my life, it still was something that was crazy. I mean, I didn't want to perpetuate a behavior that was like making me physically, and I know that uh but your body suffers enormously, and I didn't want to do that, because I was also in this uh, ideal of I consider myself having a kind of healthy life, and I like it. So it was like, what is this? I mean, I'm torn between my wanted to be healthy, but I'm not. I'm doing some. I'm wasting my body, and I'm wasting my. Yeah, I wanted to
Yeah.
be healthy. I didn't. I was scared also of having kind of heart attacks, or like my teeth went off. Uh, this kind of. I mean, yeah, and I wanted to be free. So was everything, all of this I wanted to.
Yeah. It's like you wanted freedom, you wanted this to be gone. And it sounds like there was this, and this is something that comes up a lot, is this: you had an identity of a healthy person. Like, you are a healthy person. You like healthy things. You like working out. You like healthy food. And then you're binging. And so it just feels like these two things just don't match up. Is that how you were feeling?
Exactly. I was feeling I was a liar. I was a liar,
Yeah.
There was like my inner demon. I was calling this, was funny because I had a therapist that was very important in my recovery, kind of recovery at point in a very long term, like past, like in another level, because the bulimia continued on, but she was calling it demon of Tasmania. This kind of character of,
No,
it's
I
a
don't.
it's a kind of small devil,
Uh-huh. Like on your shoulder,
like
like
a kind
talking
of,
to you.
this
Uh-huh.
kind of animal. Oh, it's a real an animal of Tasmania. This, and that eats everything. So we're like making fun about that.
Okay, yeah.
So I felt that I was like two personalities.
Mm-hmm.
So the good one, or the white one, or the one that is like the clear one, and the dark side. So was a lot of friends were asking me like about like food advices and things like that, and sometimes I was saying to myself, but how can I possibly be advising somebody if I have so also my relationship with food is not normal. I mean, it's like going. I mean, like hiding, because yes, I felt the feeling I was a liar, and I was like hiding for reality. It was a very bad feeling.
Yeah. So it sounds just like emotionally, it was a terrible feeling. It sounds like you were really worried about your health, just like what was happening, physically, especially because you thought of yourself as a healthy person. What else? What else in your life was suffering because of this before we started working together?
Well, in terms of like professionally, in terms of professional life, it was taking me a lot of energy, because uh, after a session of binging purging, you are just really like destroyed in terms of energy, in terms of emotional and physical energy. There's a lot of time I mean, there's an amount of time you spent eating and purging, and then it's like this being so tired. It was like this feeling of my head was going to, I don't know, I just wanted to sleep. So it was, of course, I was not interested in what I was doing, and I was at the minimum, like kind of frustration of the thing I was doing. I want to say, I know, I have to take a pause, and I wanted to eat. So I want to eat. So it was like this kind of fragmentation of a time, and was holding me back from my uh, energy in the things that I wanted to put energy.
Yeah. So it sounds like you had priorities in your life, Carolina, that you weren't able to put the energy toward because so much energy was going toward food, and that wasn't what you wanted to spend your life focusing on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And so then we got to connect. Yay. And what, in that first conversation, Carolina, what was it that made you decide to move forward and to be part of the program?
Wow. I well, it was a new approach. I
Uh-huh.
think that was that was maybe was the, I mean, it was so different. And I think I was getting forward, like well, not getting forward, like going closer to the project we were proposing, without really deciding. I was very scared because it was very new, very out of my comfort zone. There was I was skeptical, I would say, at
Skeptical?
some
Yes.
skeptical at some point and I said, it's going to work with me? Because I've been always like in another tradition of thinking,
Yeah.
but it's exactly that what I needed, and I wanted that. So
Yeah.
it was a very surprising opening of my mind, and I'm so happy that I
Yay.
accepted, that I decided, because I was like rambling around, looking at your videos, the interviews, and in a very non-decisive way. I
Yeah.
mean, but maybe it's the way we used to get to know things, like to get some kind of approach, and then to go every day looking much more videos, and every day much more, and looking information. So I said, okay, I'm going to schedule an appointment, and I was scared, because it worked also.
Yeah. Yeah. So scared either way, right? Scared what if this does work? Scared what if it doesn't work, right? So there was fear there, but I'm just want to say huge congratulations. I mean, for so many women, that is the first declaration of their freedom, is deciding to make a change, deciding to do something about it, deciding that, you know what, this approach is different than other things. Am I willing to be open to that? And you made that choice, and not everyone does, Carolina. And I'm so proud of you for making that choice to move forward, and so excited that we get to celebrate you and your amazing story. So in the program, we worked together for about 8 weeks. And in the program, at what point did you feel like things were really changing for you?
Well, I think that was a work in progress. Like, I could say, it's difficult to say, but I think second, third week, I
Second,
guess.
third week. And what
Yeah.
changed for you? Like, what changed in that second or third week? How were things different for you?
I mean, I was understanding the importance of body image, uh, but body image, and the importance also to put the good stuff in your brain. So, no, here it is. The thing that maybe touched me the most was understanding the function of the brain. Well, it's not that I understand completely. I'm not a neuropsychologist. I know it's not that, but understanding that mechanism.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then
uh,
what changed for you when you understood that? Like, when did you start in those first couple weeks? Did you start seeing a difference in your eating? Like, when did you stop binging?
I just had one binge before we met, because it was like this. Was exactly what I mean, it was perfect. It was perfect because it's like this urgency mechanism. Okay, tomorrow you have an interview, so you can't binge
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
Okay, so it was before, and then I had a small binge during the first week,
Yeah.
and then I didn't have any binge. So it was kind of, something happened with the practice. What we were like, the principles you were like teaching
Yeah.
us, was the practice of it, but it was, I don't know, it's like kind of interweaving of understanding, like detachment between yourself and your thoughts, but
Yeah.
still something.
And getting
uh,
what you needed there, it sounds like, was a big deal. And like you said, there was a small binge in that first week. And then how new was that for you to feel free from binging, to feel like you knew exactly how to not binge anymore? Like, had you felt that way before? Like, or was this new? Like, oh, wow, I actually know how to be done with this.
no, this is the first time that I really understand the mechanism of why binging is not any more interesting to me. I I had a moment when I was pregnant that I was the the binging was not there, and I guess was a special moment, but I didn't understand. I mean, it was particular moment of my life and everything, but I didn't have all the tools to decide. In fact, to decide that was not something I wanted to in my life anymore. I thought it was not in my life. Just I thought it was already not in my life, but it was in my life because it arrived later on.
Yeah.
So what I understood is like this practice of the practice of a decision, and was the main difference, and it is the main difference on this approach.
Yeah. Being able to just decide and know exactly how to step out of the cycle at any time. And
Yes.
I'm so excited for you, just being free and knowing how to just not binge anymore, just like move on with your life. And so what's different for you now? How do you feel different than you used to, Carolina?
Wow, this is like, it's just like, it's like even I don't have any thoughts about like binging, like urges. I don't have any urges.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's strange because you're so identified with this behavior. It's like I guess what you also said in your story, in your own story, is like at some point you identify so much with the behavior, that eating disorder, that you don't know what is going to happen afterwards when you don't have this thing that you think it's part of you and makes yourself you. So it was scary, but I feel like peaceful. I don't have I'm not scared that suddenly I will be alone at home without my son, and I will go to the supermarket or eat everything, and I'm just steady. uh and it's like a new normal.
Yeah. So it just sounds like a steadiness and a peace. You're not afraid of binging. And I know, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's a fear that comes up for a lot of women of like, well, this has been part of my life, my whole life. What will life be like without it? And how was that like for you? Just not having it anymore. Was it a big deal?
No, i
No.
mean i mean i'm I still have my personal issues,
You still have
like
problems in life.
my
Yeah.
conflicts, my etc. But I have much more time,
Yeah.
much more energy. I feel much more available, really
Yeah.
available, towards the world, and understanding that also isolation, that was before I called it isolation, uh, for eating and being like escaping from the world to be in my own thing. uh, Now I enjoy being alone. I can enjoy being alone just because for the sake of being with myself,
Yeah.
not escaping, not because I'm going to perpetuate my habit. It's just because I want to be alone, because I need
Just
it.
have some time for you to
Yeah,
recharge and not have to be scared of that. That
exactly.
is such a beautiful thing. What are some of your favorite sort of victories? Like times where like you would have binged and you didn't, or what do you get to do now, or what can you do now that used to scare you? Like what are you celebrating most in what's happened for you?
Well, I celebrate the fact of that the situations that were like complicated for me, like being alone at home without my son, when my son goes with his father, is not anymore kind of trigger situation. Like frustration is not anymore kind of conducting me to a binge. Um, to going to a party where like lots of food is not anymore something that would make me crazy. Going to a family trip without like going directly to the food, for in the buffet, and then like going wanted to go away and not talking to anybody. No, that is not anymore. I've been able to enjoy my holidays in different contexts with different uh, food rules, like food rules, not like different kind of foods. Yes, and so I've been adapting.
Yeah.
I have my preferences, of course, um, and it's fine. But I've been able to adapt, and that I think it's a very huge win for me.
To just be able to live your life and to just do what you want. And it's just not a big deal because you're not afraid of food.
Exactly, it is.
Beautiful. Anything else that's just on your mind, Carolina, that you're just celebrating, that you're excited about, that how life is different now?
Well, I really celebrate. I mean, like I was like just today. I was thinking about the idea of celebration. Uh, and I celebrate like to have been like step into the program, like really like this decision, because I've always had the feeling that I'm very slow with taking decisions, and it's like it could be painful, and then it can be very ambivalent. So that was a huge thing for me. Like, yes, if I want something, I do, and I go for it. That is very strong, and I think it's something that I am applying into another levels of my life. I celebrate that, being also able to look at what you taught as a kind of prisma, how to say, like a diamond that you can uh, put in light on other lights and like of your life, and
Yeah, just apply these principles out to other parts of your life. So how has this changed? Just, I mean, of course you use these principles to get free and be done with the bulimia. Awesome. But what other areas of your life have you applied these principles to? How has it made a difference for you, Carolina?
I've been applying a lot to my relationships, like intimate relationships with my conflict, and I think that appears like my the things that make me suffer or make that are difficult for me. I'm really trying to apply the principles you taught. The relationship with my son also. Yeah, a lot about judging myself, like this, trying to apply the principles in myself in general. No, like yeah, I think it's an enormous tool.
Yeah. And that's so fun. And that's oftentimes the progression of like you use these tools to have freedom with food. But then this is really about doing what you want. This is really about living life how you want to, being who you want to be, showing up in relationships how you want to. Like, it's so fun to just have that freedom in all sorts of different areas of life. And I'm so proud of you and I'm so happy for you. And I'm just so glad that you made that decision. Like you said, like maybe it would have, decisions you've been indecisive or it's, been hard to come around to, but you made this choice. And that was outside of your comfort zone, Carolina. You made a choice to end this and to start with the program. And I'm so excited for you and just to see all of your freedom. So anything else on your mind for today and sharing your story that you would want others to know who might be in that same dark place that you were before?
To take the decision. I mean, it's yeah, taking the decision is like this start fear you talk about to us at some point. It could be the most like, okay, we're like in front of a kind of abyss, because we don't know what's going to be next, or we're scared about we're not going to be ourselves anymore. But as you said before, like we can be scared because is there unknown, or because we're going to continue on like in the habit. So the thing is about taking a decision, just taking the decision, and then everything rolls. Yes. No?
Yep. You decide what direction you're going in. Yeah.
And what it was important also is like, for me, it's like about the idea of practice. This is a process. I mean, there's no magic. Magic? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, magic.
There's not a magic wand. There is like the blessing of the practice, and to continue on with it. And also like the importance of celebrating, I think, because I think we usually forget.
Yeah.
To yeah, I think we forget to celebrate ourselves and to see what we have done, and that, wow, yeah.
That's beautiful. And we are celebrating you. This is so lovely. And I love that you are sharing your story here. You're such an inspiration, Carolina. And, celebrating the work that you've done. I mean, I showed you how to be free and how to do it, but you did the work. You were the one who made the decision, and you were the one who did the work, and you're the one who gets to enjoy that freedom. And I'm just so, so happy for you. So Thank you for sharing. I'm so glad you're part of this cause, right? It's like, this is what we're doing. We're just freeing women into the world. And, some fears that you bring up that are just so important that I just wanted to highlight again is just, the fear of getting started, right? Like the fear of, oh, what if this doesn't work? But what if you don't do this, right? That's scary too, to keep doing this, to keep being on this track for the rest of your life. So it's like you pick your fear. And I think those are such important things to bring up. And the fear of just like, well, what do I do if this is out of my life? Like you were saying, like that was definitely a fear, but it's just not a big deal. You just have more like time and more energy, and you can be more present. Like it's not like this big, like, oh, well, it's not like all your problems went away. All those things that you used to use food to hide from, I mean, they're still there, but you just don't have to use food anymore. You don't have all of the extra problems of an eating disorder on top of it, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful. So beautifully put. Thank you. Just celebrating you. I'm so happy that we got to do this amazing thing together. And anything else on your mind for today?
I wanted to thank you, Lydia. I mean, I wanted to thank you because I will not be like tired enough to repeat it, but I mean, it's a great job. I mean, it's a great work you have been like installing, and I am so grateful for meeting you, and yeah, your trust also, and your trust and your energy and your love towards like being recovered and yeah. So I wanted to spread that again.
Thank you. That means so much. That means so much. And that's what this is all about. I mean, Carolina, you and the other amazing women who are just making this decision to get free, like that's what this is about. Like, I really believe that no person who wants to end their eating disorder, I mean, I'm phrasing this strangely. I believe that anyone who wants to end their eating disorder can. Like we have it. We have it. I mean, this has worked for hundreds and hundreds of people. And so a lot of times it's just about making the decision. Like, are you willing to look at a different approach? Okay, awesome. Then let's do it. And you had that willingness, and that just means so much because like your story, like you is what this is all about. It's like that love that you feel is just like that love of like, yes, let's do this. And I'm so happy for you and so proud of you. And thank you. That means everything. That's what this is. So thank you guys for joining us today, celebrating Carolina and her wonderful journey and just the rest of your life of freedom. You can just like go enjoy your life, right? It's like you have so much more energy to do so now. And this is Lydia, the lifestyle coach, and Carolina signing off. Mwah. Hi, guys.
Wow. Thank you.
You have so many options. You can watch more videos. You can subscribe for new videos every Monday. You can even join our Facebook group with an amazing support community.